What if I told you that just a 1% improvement each day could lead to nearly 38 times the results in a year? Sounds crazy, right?
It does.
But that's the power of atomic habits.
Yeah.
The idea that tiny changes consistently applied can lead to remarkable results.
Absolutely.
Today we're diving into Atomic Habits by James Clear
Yes.
to unpack how this works
Yeah.
and how you can harness it.
Exactly. It's like compound interest, but for your habits. Those seemingly insignificant actions, when repeated, consistently compound over time, leading to huge changes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Clear's own story demonstrates.
Okay, let's rewind a bit. For those unfamiliar, James Clear wasn't always a best-selling author and habit expert.
Right?
He was a college athlete who suffered a horrific baseball injury,
Yeah.
leaving him with a long and difficult recovery.
Uh-huh.
It's fascinating how this experience became the foundation for his work.
Absolutely. This journey from barely being able to walk to becoming an academic All-American is a powerful testament to the idea that small improvements can lead to huge transformations.
Wow.
Clear didn't try to overhaul his life overnight.
Yeah.
He focused on tiny gains, building on those small wins day after day.
It's a powerful reminder that we don't need to make radical changes all at once.
Yeah, you can.
You can achieve significant progress by focusing on one small habit at a time.
Right.
And Clear breaks down exactly how to do this in the book.
The first step is understanding how habits work. Clear outlines a 4-stage cycle: cue, craving, response, and reward.
Okay.
Imagine you walk into your kitchen and see a plate of cookies on the counter. That's the cue.
The cue triggers a craving,
Right.
which is the desire for the reward. In this case, it's that delicious, sugary treat calling your name.
Right, and the craving leads to the response, which is the action you take,
Okay.
grabbing a cookie and taking a bite. Then comes the reward, the satisfaction of that sweet taste and the hit of dopamine. This reward reinforces the entire cycle, making you more likely to repeat the behavior next time you see cookies on the counter.
It's like a feedback loop that gets stronger with each repetition.
Exactly.
And this cycle applies to both good and bad habits.
Exactly. So if we understand this cycle, we can start to manipulate it to build better habits.
Okay, so how do we actually put this into practice?
Clear suggests starting by becoming more aware of your current habits. He has a tool called the Habit Scorecard, where you simply list out your daily habits, good or bad, to bring awareness to those automatic behaviors.
Okay.
You can then evaluate each habit and decide if it's something you want to keep, change, or eliminate. It's like taking inventory of your actions before making any adjustments.
It's kind of like looking at your bank statement and realizing you're spending way too much on takeout coffee.
Right.
That awareness is the first step to making a change.
Right, and to further increase your awareness, Clear suggests a technique called pointing and calling,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
inspired by Japanese railway conductors.
Tell me more about this pointing and calling. Does it involve singing karaoke on a train?
Not quite. Japanese railway conductors point at and call out each signal and action they perform to reduce errors and heighten awareness. You can apply this to your habits by simply verbalizing your actions as you do them.
So if I'm reaching for that bag of chips after dinner, I'd say out loud, I'm reaching to the chips.
Exactly, it might feel silly.
Yeah.
But it brings the action to a conscious level, forcing your brain to acknowledge the habit instead of running on autopilot.
I can see how that would be really helpful in identifying habits you might want to change,
Yeah.
even those seemingly insignificant ones.
Now, once you're aware of your habits, the next step is to optimize your environment.
Right. Our environment plays a huge role in shaping our behavior.
It does.
What are some practical tips for designing an environment that supports good habits?
Cleary emphasizes the importance of making small changes to your surroundings. For example, let's say you're trying to reduce distractions while you work. You could rearrange your workspace so that you're facing away from the television or your phone.
Oh, I do that. I actually
Yeah.
put my phone in another room when I need to focus. Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. You're already putting environment design into practice. Clear also suggests having separate spaces for different activities. Don't work from your bed.
Right.
Having dedicated spaces helps your brain associate each area with a specific activity.
So it's like setting up clear boundaries for different parts of your life. That
Yeah.
makes so much sense.
And here's a fascinating example from the book. Even switching grocery stores can help you eat healthier. If your brain doesn't automatically know where to find the junk food aisles.
It's about removing those temptations and making the healthy choice the easier choice.
I love that.
Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Cleario argues that our habits are not just about changing our actions, but about changing our identity.
Okay, let's dive into this idea of identity. How do our habits shape who we believe we are? Think of it this way. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. If you consistently choose to eat healthy foods, you're casting votes for a healthy person identity. If you regularly exercise, you're casting votes for an athletic identity.
So it's not just about, I want to lose weight. It's about, I am becoming a healthy person.
Exactly. It's about shifting your mindset.
Yeah.
From focusing on outcomes to focusing on becoming the type of person who embodies those desired habits.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It's not about forcing yourself into a new mold.
Right.
It's about aligning your actions with your desired identity.
Right. And Clear suggests that instead of focusing on goals, we should focus on systems.
Okay.
Goals are about the results you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Systems are about the processes that lead to those results.
So if your goal is to run a marathon, your system is the daily training plan that gets you there.
Exactly. It's about focusing on the small actions you take consistently, knowing that those actions will ultimately lead you to your desired outcome.
That's a great point. It takes the pressure off the end goal and allows you to focus on the journey.
Now, when it comes to making those small actions a reality, Clear provides a simple but effective framework. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
Okay, those sound like great principles. Could you break those down for me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The first principle, make it obvious, is all about making the cue for your habit as clear as possible. For example, if you want to start meditating every morning, place your meditation cushion in a visible spot in your bedroom. The second principle, make it attractive, is about increasing your desire to perform the habit.
So if I wanted to start reading more, I could create a cozy reading nook with comfy blankets and good lighting to make it more inviting.
Exactly. Or you could join a book club to make it a social activity.
I love that. What about making it easy?
That's all about reducing the friction associated with the habit. Think about the 2-minute rule we discussed earlier. Break down your habits into smaller, more manageable steps that take less than 2 minutes to do.
So instead of saying, I'm going to write a whole chapter tonight, I'd say, I'm going to write for 5 minutes.
Right. Make the starting point so easy you can't say no to it. And finally, make it satisfying. This is about reinforcing the habit loop with a positive reward.
We've talked a lot about the importance of immediate rewards.
Yeah.
But how do you actually make a habit satisfying?
There are a few strategies you can use. One is to track your progress. Seeing those check marks on your calendar or those entries in your workout log can give you a sense of accomplishment and motivate you to keep going.
It's like giving yourself a visual reminder of your success. I can see how that would be motivating.
Another strategy is to use what Clear calls temptation bundling, which is a way to link an action you want to do with an action you need to do.
Oh, right. We talked about that before. Like only allowing yourself to watch your favorite TV show while you're on the treadmill.
Exactly. And finally, you can use rewards that align with your desired identity. If you're trying to become a healthier person, reward yourself with a healthy meal or a new workout outfit, rather than something that contradicts your goals.
So it's about creating a positive feedback loop.
Yeah,
Where the reward itself supports your long-term aspirations.
precisely. By following these principles, you can make any habit more likely to stick. It's all about creating a system that works for you and that supports your long-term goals.
And Atomic Habits is full of practical strategies and tools to help you build that system.
It is.
Speaking of tools,
Yeah.
I'm curious about something we touched on earlier, the Goldilocks rule. How does finding that sweet spot of challenge contribute to habit formation?
The Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks right on the edge of their current abilities.
Oh.
Too easy, we get bored.
Yeah.
Too hard, we get discouraged.
Right.
Finding that just right level is key to staying engaged.
So how do we apply that to our habits?
Yeah.
It can't be about making every habit feel like a thrilling challenge,
Yeah,
right?
right. It's more about recognizing that consistent progress hinges on finding a sustainable level of challenge.
Okay.
For example, if you're trying to build a writing habit,
Yeah.
starting with a goal of writing a novel might be too overwhelming.
Right.
Instead, aim for writing a page a day.
Mm-hmm.
As you get comfortable, you can gradually increase the length and complexity of your writing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You want to challenge yourself enough to stay motivated, but not so much that you burn out or give up.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot where the habit feels both challenging and achievable.
Exactly. And this ties into another important concept Clear discusses. Falling in love with boredom?
Falling in love with boredom. I'm definitely intrigued. It sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about building habits that we actually want to stick to.
It might seem that way, but think about it.
Okay.
Mastering any skill involves repetition.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, sometimes a bit of boredom, whether it's playing the piano, learning a new language,
Yeah.
or building a business.
Right.
There will be times when the initial excitement wears off, and
Yeah.
you're left with the less glamorous work of practice and consistency.
That's so true. It's easy to get swept up in the initial enthusiasm.
It is.
But real progress happens when you show up day after day, even when it's not exciting.
Exactly. And Clear shares a great story in the book
Mm-hmm.
about an elite swimming coach who said, "The key to success is falling in love with the boredom of training every day."
Wow.
It's about embracing the process, knowing that those seemingly mundane repetitions are what ultimately lead to mastery.
So it's not about seeking constant novelty and excitement.
Right.
It's about finding satisfaction in the consistency and the dedication to the craft.
Precisely. And here's a thought-provoking question for you
Okay.
and for our listener.
Okay.
How often do we give up on things just as we're about to hit that breakthrough, just when the compound effect is about to kick in?
That's a great question. It makes me think about all the times I've started a new exercise program or a creative project,
Yeah.
only to abandon it a few weeks later because it wasn't exciting enough
Yeah.
or I wasn't seeing immediate results.
It's a common struggle.
Yeah.
But by embracing the boredom, by sticking with it, even when it's not glamorous, we open ourselves up to those long-term rewards.
So it's about shifting our mindset from instant gratification to delayed gratification.
Yeah.
We need to play the long game and trust that those consistent efforts will pay off.
Right. And that brings us back to the importance of making habits satisfying. If we can find ways to make those small, consistent actions enjoyable, we're much more likely to stick with them.
We've talked about a lot of great strategies for making habits satisfying.
Yeah.
Things like tracking progress, using temptation bundling,
Right.
and choosing rewards that align with our desired identity.
Yes.
Any other tips?
One powerful strategy is to focus on the immediate rewards of the good habit
Okay.
rather than the long-term benefits.
Can you give me an example of what that looks like?
Sure. Instead of focusing on how exercise will help you lose weight in the future,
Okay.
pay attention to how good it makes you feel in the moment.
Mm.
Notice the surge of energy you experience after a workout,
Yeah.
the feeling of accomplishment you get from crossing it off your to-do list, or the sense of calm and focus you have after a meditation session.
It's about finding those little pockets of joy within the process itself.
Exactly. By savoring those immediate rewards,
Yeah.
you're reinforcing the habit loop and making it more likely that you will repeat the behavior.
Right.
It becomes less about willpower and more about creating a positive association with the habit itself.
That's such a powerful reminder.
Yeah.
It's not just about gritting our teeth and forcing ourselves to do things we don't enjoy.
Right.
It's about finding ways to make the journey itself enjoyable.
Precisely. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I'm sold on the idea of building better habits, but what about breaking bad ones?
That's a great question. We've talked a lot about creating good habits.
Yeah.
But what about those pesky bad habits that seem to have a life of their own?
Well, Clear offers a helpful framework for breaking bad habits,
Okay.
which involves inverting the 4 laws of behavior change. Remember, to build good habits, we want to make them obvious,
Yeah.
attractive,
Uh-huh.
easy,
Yeah.
and satisfying.
Right.
To break bad habits, we do the opposite.
Okay. I'm following. So to break a bad habit, we want to make it invisible, unattractive,
Right.
difficult,
Yes.
and unsatisfying. Makes sense.
Exactly. Let's take the example of wanting to reduce your social media use.
Okay.
To make it invisible, you could delete the apps from your phone
Hmm.
or log out of your accounts.
That removes the visual cue
Yeah.
and makes it less accessible, right?
Right. To make it unattractive, you could remind yourself of the negative consequences of excessive social media use.
Yeah.
Think about how it makes you feel.
Okay.
Perhaps drained, anxious, or envious.
It's like shining a light on the downsides of the habit.
Exactly. To make it difficult, you could increase the friction. Okay.
Log out of your accounts, use website blockers,
Yeah.
or even temporarily deactivate your profiles.
So it's about putting obstacles in the way, making it less convenient to engage in the habit.
Right. And finally, to make it unsatisfying, you could create a negative consequence for yourself.
Okay.
For example, you could donate money to a cause you dislike every time you find yourself mindlessly scrolling.
That's a clever strategy. It adds a layer of accountability and makes the habit less appealing.
Exactly. By applying these inverted laws, you can weaken the pull of your bad habits and make it easier to break free.
This is really making me think about how much control we have over our environment and our behavior.
We often feel like our habits control us,
Yeah.
but Atomic Habits shows us that we have the power to change them. It's not about overnight transformations,
Right.
but about small, consistent actions that compound over time.
And it's a reminder that we don't have to do it alone.
Right.
There are tools and strategies available to help us on our journey.
Absolutely. And one of the most powerful tools is community. Clear talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who support your goals.
The people we spend time with have a huge impact on our behavior, that's for sure.
They do. Clear highlights the idea of joining a tribe where your desired behavior is the normal behavior.
So if you want to get into running, join a running club.
Mm.
If you want to eat healthier, connect with people who prioritize healthy eating.
Exactly. When your environment supports your desired behavior,
Yeah.
it becomes much easier to stick to your habits.
It's about finding those pockets of support and encouragement that help you stay motivated and on track.
Right. And community can also provide accountability. When you have people who are expecting you to show up and do the work,
Yeah.
you're more likely to follow through.
It's like having a built-in cheerleading squad.
And sometimes that's exactly what we need to stay motivated.
This is making me realize that building better habits is not just about individual effort.
Right.
It's about leveraging the power of our environment and our social connections. Absolutely. And it's about recognizing that we are all works in progress.
Yeah.
There will be times when we fall off track, when we give in to temptation,
Right.
when we feel discouraged.
That's so true. It's not about being perfect, it's about progress.
Exactly. The key is to be kind to ourselves,
Yeah.
to learn from our mistakes,
Okay.
and to keep moving forward.
And Atomic Habits provides a roadmap for doing just that.
It does. It gives us a framework for understanding how habits work,
Yeah.
a set of practical tools for changing our behavior, and a powerful reminder that we all have the capacity to create a life we love one small habit at a time.
And speaking of creating a life we love, one of the key themes that runs throughout Atomic Habits is this idea that our habits are ultimately an expression of our identity.
Yes. We touched on this earlier, but it's worth revisiting.
Yeah.
Remember, our habits are not just something we do, they are a reflection of who we believe we are.
So if I have a habit of procrastinating, it's because I see myself as a procrastinator.
It's possible our habits are like votes for the type of person we want to become.
Yeah.
Each time we perform a habit, we are casting a vote for that identity.
That's a powerful way to think about it. So if we want to change our identity, we can start by changing our habits.
Exactly. It's a process of gradual transformation.
Okay.
Each time you perform a habit that's in alignment with your desired identity, you're reinforcing that belief.
This is making me realize that building good habits is as much about changing our mindset as it is about changing our actions.
Precisely. And Clear offers a practical framework for making this identity shift.
Okay.
He suggests focusing on two key questions.
Okay, I'm ready to take notes. What are the questions?
First, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be?
That's a great question. It forces you to get clear about your values and your aspirations.
And once you have a sense of the type of person you want to become,
Yeah.
ask yourself, what would that kind of person do?
Oh, I love that. It's about aligning your actions with your desired identity.
Exactly. So if you want to be a healthy person, ask yourself, what would a healthy person do?
Okay.
They would probably eat nutritious foods, exercise regularly, and get enough sleep,
Right.
and then start incorporating those habits into your life.
It's about taking those abstract qualities and translating them into concrete actions.
Precisely. Now, there's one more important point that Clear makes about identity.
Okay.
He says that we should be careful not to let our current identity limit our potential.
Okay, that's interesting. What does that mean?
Well, as we've talked about, our habits shape our identity,
Yeah.
but sometimes that identity can become a cage.
Mhm.
We start to define ourselves by our past behaviors,
Yeah.
and we limit ourselves based on who we think we are.
So, for example, if I've always struggled with public speaking, I might start to see myself as someone who is just not good at it
Right.
and avoid opportunities to practice and improve.
Exactly. We get stuck in these limiting beliefs about ourselves.
So how do we break free from those limiting beliefs?
Clear suggests that we need to be willing to question our assumptions about ourselves.
Okay, I'm ready to challenge those limiting beliefs. What questions should I be asking myself?
Start by asking yourself, is this belief really true?
Okay,
Or is it just something I've been telling myself for a long time?
that's a great question. It forces you to examine the evidence.
And then ask yourself, if I didn't believe this about myself, what would be possible?
Wow, that question really opens up the possibilities, doesn't it?
It does by challenging our limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
We create space for growth and transformation.
This is making me realize that we have much more control over our identity than we often realize.
Absolutely. We are not defined by our past behaviors.
Right.
We have the power to choose who we want to become.
It's so empowering to realize that we're not stuck with the habits and identities we've inherited or developed over time. We can actively choose who we want to become.
That's the beauty of it. We have the power to shape our own destiny through the conscious cultivation of habits. It's about taking ownership of our choices and recognizing that those small, seemingly insignificant actions we take each day ultimately determine the course of our lives.
And Atomic Habits provide such a clear and actionable framework for making those choices and building those habits. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive,
Yeah.
from the power of small gains to the 4 stages of habit formation,
Right.
the importance of environment design, the role of identity, the Goldilocks rule, and the strategies for making habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
It's been a fascinating exploration, and what strikes me is how interconnected all these concepts are.
Yeah.
It's not just about willpower or discipline. It's about understanding the psychology of habits,
Right.
leveraging our environment, and aligning our actions with our desired identity.
Right. It's about creating a system that supports our goals and makes it easier to stick to those positive behaviors.
Exactly. And I think one of the most powerful takeaways from Atomic Habits is the idea that we don't have to wait for some grand moment of inspiration to start making changes. We can start right now with the smallest, easiest step.
It's about taking action, even if it feels insignificant at the time. Those small steps consistently repeated are what lead to big results.
And Clear offers a great analogy for this. He talks about the British cycling team, which was struggling to achieve success for over a century. Then in 2003, they hired a new performance director named Dave Brailsford, who introduced a philosophy of marginal gains.
Marginal gains, what does that mean?
It means focusing on making 1% improvements in every area imaginable, from the type of bicycles they rode to the riders' sleep patterns, their nutrition, even the type of hand wash they use to prevent infections. Brailsford believed that by aggregating these tiny improvements, they could achieve significant results.
And it worked. The British cycling team went on to dominate the Olympics and the Tour de France.
Exactly, and it's a powerful reminder that success is not about some magic formula or overnight transformation. It's about consistently making those small, incremental improvements.
It's about the compound effect in action.
Right.
And applies to all areas of life, not just sports.
Absolutely. Whether you're trying to improve your health, your relationships, your finances, or your career, the principle of marginal gains can help you get there.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Atomic Habits, what's one final provocative thought you'd like to leave our listener with?
Clear emphasizes that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. But what small habit, if compounded over the next year, would make the biggest impact on your life? What one tiny change could you make today?
That's a powerful question to ponder. It's a reminder that we don't have to wait for New Year's resolutions or some grand moment of inspiration to start building a better life. We can start right now, one small step at a time.
Absolutely. And remember, even those tiny changes, consistently applied, can lead to remarkable results. Clear's journey from a devastating injury to success proves it. And with the tools from Atomic Habits, you can start creating those changes in your own life today.
So to our listener out there, we challenge you to embrace the power of Atomic Habits and start building a life you truly love. Until next time, keep diving deep.